Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we dive deep into the world of this intriguing penny, a coin so ordinary looking that millions of Americans have held one in their hands without ever realizing the remarkable details and hidden possibilities behind it. Yet collectors know that the 1960D penny can hold secrets that make it enormously more valuable than its face value, especially when you understand exactly what to look for. As we begin, imagine the United States in the year 1960. It was a moment of transition. The post-war boom was still reshaping cities and suburbs. New technology, modern design, and global ambition were touching every corner of American life. The country was on the cusp of the 1960s, a decade that would go on to redefine politics, culture, and technology in ways people of the time couldn't yet imagine. In this era of change, something small but significant quietly occurred in the world of United States coinage, right inside the Denver Mint. It would eventually give rise to one of the most intriguing varieties of Lincoln cents ever discovered. The Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for over 5 decades by then. First minted in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin had become a beloved American icon. On the obverse side, Lincoln's profile reflected dignity and resolve. On the reverse side at that time, the familiar wheat ears had been replaced just the previous year, 1959, by the striking image of the Lincoln Memorial, a change ordered for the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This meant that the 1960 series would be only the second year ever to feature the new memorial design, but hidden within that year's production was an unusual twist. Something that happened not because of symbolism, national celebration, or artistic redesign, but purely because of manufacturing circumstances. The year 1960 produced two major size varieties for the date itself, the large date and the small date. And while the Philadelphia Mint produced both varieties, it was the Denver Mint, identified by the small d mint mark beneath the date, that minted the versions collectors find most intriguing today. What caused these two varieties? The details lie in the specific engraving of the date on the original working hubs. For reasons still debated by numismatists, the mint created two distinct date punches that differed in the thickness, height, and alignment of the numerals. The large date features a taller, fuller numeral style, with the zero noticeably larger. The small date variety has a more compact appearance, the numbers appearing shorter and slimmer, with the 6 tucked in closer to the 1. These variations weren't meant as a special release or collector's series. They simply resulted from adjustments made to the dies during the year. As these coins rolled off the presses by the millions, no one imagined they would someday trigger decades of fascination. Yet once collectors realized there were two versions, the excitement began. People started searching for them in their coin shops, and inherited jars of pennies. They compared dates and mint marks, held coins under magnifying glasses, and measured the subtle differences. The thrill was magnified further when an especially valuable discovery was made, a small date over large date variety. Some pennies struck at the Denver Mint show evidence that a large date punch had been modified into a small date punch, leaving faint traces of the older numerals beneath. This created a dramatic doubled appearance that collectors instantly recognized as not only rare, but tremendously appealing. But even without the overpunch varieties, the 1960D pennies remain compelling for collectors because they represent a moment where everyday production crossed paths with accidental uniqueness. The Denver Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents over its history, yet only certain years, certain dies, and certain tiny details become memorable enough to ignite a lasting treasure hunt. The 1960D small date and large date varieties are perfect examples of this phenomenon. Today, collectors search for very specific features when evaluating a 1960D penny. First, determining whether the date is the large or the small style. Second, checking for the famous small over large date variety. Third, examining the coin's condition. A penny that has spent decades in circulation will show wear, scratches, and loss of luster. But a coin that somehow remained uncirculated, preserved with its original mint red color, can command significantly greater value. Even small differences in grade can mean the difference between a few cents and many dollars. Mint state examples graded by professional services often attract the strongest interest from serious collectors. Another element that makes these pennies interesting is the way they represent the last chapters of an era of solid copper American cents. The 1960 penny is made of 95% copper, a composition that would last until the early 1980s. As copper prices rose, the mint eventually shifted toward copper-plated zinc cents. This gives the older coins an added feeling of historical authenticity and a tangible connection to the past. When you hold a 1960 penny, you're holding metal that has been around long before the coin itself was minted. Beyond their material composition, these coins also symbolize the evolutionary nature of mint technology. Today, digital engraving and automated quality checks make it far less likely that two distinct date styles would slip into circulation unnoticed. But in 1960, the mint still relied heavily on manual craftsmanship and engraved hubs that could be adjusted and corrected physically. This process, while incredibly skilled, left room for slight variations that, decades later, become the charm and intrigue collectors cherish. If you've ever wondered why people go hunting for old pennies at all, the 1960D variety provides the perfect answer. There is always the possibility that an unassuming coin, resting quietly in a forgotten coin jar or stuck to the bottom of a drawer, may turn out to be something far more special than anyone realized. The beauty of numismatics lies not just in value, but in the story each coin carries. The fingerprints of history, the marks of old machines, the subtle distinctions that only a careful eye can spot, these details turn small, common objects into historical artifacts. Imagine discovering one of these pennies in near-perfect condition. Imagine the feeling of flipping it under a light, noticing the crispness of Lincoln's profile, the untouched shine on the surface, the razor-sharp edges of the memorial's columns, and then finally observing the date, identifying it as a rare variety. A tiny treasure in the palm of your hand, found not in a museum, but in everyday life. This possibility is what keeps collectors searching, and even for those without a rare variety, owning a 1960D penny is still owning a piece of American heritage. It has traveled through decades of change. It has lived through new technologies, cultural revolutions, and generational shifts. It may have passed through hundreds of hands, been used in purchases small and meaningful, and quietly carried the legacy of Lincoln's image through the years. In this way, every penny tells a story, but some pennies tell a story worth a little more attention. As you explore your own change jar, or take a closer look at the pennies you come across, remember that the 1960D series is one of the most rewarding to examine. Whether you are a new collector or a seasoned expert, this coin offers the perfect blend of accessibility, history, rarity, and the possibility of surprising value. Journey takes us deep into one specific year, 1971, and into one specific mint, the Denver Mint, to explore the fascinating world of the 1971 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that millions of Americans once handled casually every single day, unaware that some of these little copper beauties would one day capture the attention of collectors around the globe. But what makes this penny so interesting? How can a coin worth just a single cent hold such charm, such history, and potentially such impressive value? And more importantly, why do collectors go searching for it even now, more than half a century later? Let's dive into everything that makes this coin a standout piece, from its origin to its varieties, its hidden gems, and its potential worth in today's market. To understand the 1971 Lincoln cent, we first need to look at the mid-20th century United States, a time when the nation was undergoing economic shifts, cultural change, and modernization across nearly every aspect of American life. The Denver Mint, responsible for producing the 1971 penny, was operating at full speed that year, striking millions upon millions of coins to keep up with national circulation needs. While mass production usually means uniformity, it also means that tiny imperfections, small variations, and unexpected minting oddities can slip through. And for collectors, those flaws, or rather, those features, are what make certain coins stand apart. At first glance, the 1971 penny looks just like the Lincoln cents most Americans are familiar with. It features the iconic right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, which has appeared on the penny since 1909. On the reverse, we see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, complete with its classical columns and the tiny engraved figure of Lincoln that sits inside the memorial, a detail so small that many people didn't realize it existed. This reverse design was used on pennies from 1959 until 2008, covering nearly 50 years of American change. What makes the 1971 D penny intriguing, though, isn't the design itself, but the world in which it was minted. Copper prices were rising during this era, and although the cent would not officially transition away from 95% copper until 1982, these early 1970s pennies represent some of the last years of solid copper coinage before the economic pressures of the 1980s changed U.S. coin composition forever. In other words, each 1971 D cent contains real copper weight, something collectors appreciate not just for value, but for the quality of the coin's appearance and preservation. Copper coins age with character. Their color deepens, their tone shifts, and their shine transforms into warm shades of red, brown, and deep chocolate. For some collectors, a beautifully toned penny is as interesting as a rare variety. Speaking of varieties, the 1971 series is especially known for something that makes collectors' hearts beat a little faster: the possibility of double dies. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin is impressed by the design more than once, and the impressions do not align perfectly. This creates a doubling effect that can be easily seen, most often in the lettering or numbers. While the most famous double dies in the Lincoln cent world are the 1955, 1969, yes, and 1972 varieties, the 1971 coins also have double die errors that collectors actively seek out. Now, the key question: does the 1971 D penny have major double die varieties? Technically, yes, though they are much more subtle than those found on the 1971 coins from the Philadelphia Mint. The Denver Mint's doubling tends to be minor, often seen under magnification rather than with the naked eye. That said, even minor varieties can make a penny worth more than face value, especially if the coin is in extremely high grade, and this brings us to the next fascinating aspect of the 1971 D cent: condition. In the coin world, appearance matters, sometimes dramatically. A penny straight from circulation will show signs of use: scratches, color changes, dents, worn details, and surface marks. But a penny that remains in pristine, near-perfect condition, the kind that looks like it was minted yesterday even though it's over 50 years old, now that is something special. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing perfection under magnification. While most 1971 D pennies fall somewhere in the middle, the rare coins that earn a grade of mint state 65 or higher are the ones collectors dream about. These coins exhibit brilliant luster, crisp detail, and that unmistakable copper glow that makes the Lincoln cent such a visually striking piece of American history. But there's something even more exciting: the fact that thousands of 1971 D pennies have never been examined by collectors. Many are sitting in jars, tucked in attic boxes, resting in drawers, or stored in old piggy banks. Every so often, someone discovers a handful of old pennies from their childhood, and among them might be a coin in far better shape than expected. Some might even be original mint set coins that were preserved without knowing their potential value decades later. And the truth is, much of the enthusiasm for the 1971 D penny comes from this possibility: the thrill of the hunt. Searching through rolls of pennies, exploring old family collections, or checking the bottom of an old coin tin might reveal a shining treasure hiding in plain sight. So what makes some of these pennies valuable today? Several factors come together. First, rarity in high grades. While the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies in 1971, only a tiny fraction survive in exceptional condition. A collector who wants a nearly perfect example of a 1971 D penny may have to search for years to find one that meets the standards they're looking for. Second, special varieties and minor errors. Even though major double dies are rare for the Denver Mint of this year, small but significant varieties still generate interest. A slight doubling of letters, a faint off-center strike, or a tiny die crack can make a coin appealing to collectors and raise its value. Third, demand. Lincoln cents are among the most collected coins in the world. A huge number of hobbyists chase them, collect them by year, search for errors, or aim to complete entire sets. That makes even ordinary years like 1971 continue to draw attention, but now we get to the most anticipated part, value. Some well-preserved 1971 Lincoln cents have been sold at surprisingly high prices in auctions and private sales. Exceptional examples, particularly those with sharp detail and vivid original red luster, have caught the eye of serious collectors willing to pay premium amounts for the best specimens they can find. We're diving deep into one of the most intriguing and often misunderstood modern coins in American numismatics, the 1982 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin. Now, you might think a penny minted in the 1980s wouldn't be worth talking about, but the 1982 cent is one of those pieces that continues to spark curiosity, controversy, and excitement among collectors worldwide, and for good reason. This coin marks a major turning point in United States mint history, a year of big changes, mixed metals, design tweaks, experimental strikes, and a whole lot of confusion that still keeps collectors guessing. If you've ever wondered why people search through jars of pennies or inspect every coin with a magnifier, well, 1982 is a perfect example of why the hunt is worth it. So buckle in, because today's video is going to be full of details, stories, and little-known numismatic secrets. This is a long, rich, and fascinating journey into the coin that turned everyday pocket change into a treasure hunt, the 1982 Lincoln 1-cent piece. Let's start with the moment that makes 1982 stand out. Up until this year, pennies were made of solid bronze, 95% copper with a bit of tin and zinc mixed in. These coins had a classic ring, a certain weight to them, and a warm reddish-brown color that older collectors loved, but the early 1980s were a time of economic pressure. Copper prices were rising fast, so fast that the metal inside each penny was almost worth more than the coin itself. The U.S. Mint had a major problem on its hands. Making pennies was becoming more expensive than the value they carried. So in 1982, a dramatic decision was made. The mint transitioned from heavy copper-rich cents to lightweight zinc coins coated with copper. This change might sound small, but it triggered one of the biggest shifts in modern U.S. coin production. However, this transition didn't happen all at once. The year 1982 became a fascinating mix of old and new. Some pennies were made of the original copper alloy. Others were made with the brand new zinc composition. Several design variations even appeared that year because of changes in the dies used to strike the coins, and that brings us directly to the 1982 Lincoln penny, a coin that embodies this complicated, transitional period. The D mint mark stands for Denver, one of the two main facilities producing cents in 1982. And Denver played a unique role. While Philadelphia struck multiple variations of copper and zinc cents, Denver is especially famous, or infamous, for producing the rarest, most sought-after version of the 1982 penny, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll get to the rarity and values toward the end of the video. First, let's break down exactly what makes 1982 such a complex year. 8 major varieties were produced: 1982 copper, large date 1982 copper, small date 1982 zinc, large date 1982 zinc, small date 1982 D copper, large date 1982 D zinc, large date 1982 D copper, small date 1982 D zinc, small date. Yes, you heard that correctly, 8 possible variations, each with its own story. Collectors love 1982 coins because identifying them feels like detective work. You can't just rely on the date. You have to look at the mint mark, the date style, and even the weight of the coin. Copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while zinc pennies weigh 2.5 grams. That's why digital scales have become a collector's best friend, but the Denver Mint variations are the ones that truly make the year interesting. Most 1982 D coins are common, especially the zinc large date version. But rumors and discoveries of rare small date varieties, both copper and zinc, have kept collectors searching and speculating for decades. Why does the 1982 D zinc small date penny carry such mystique? Because for years, collectors believed it didn't exist. Mint records didn't mention it. Numismatic experts dismissed the idea. But then, one surfaced. A real, verifiable 1982 D small date struck on a zinc planchet, this discovery changed everything. Suddenly, a coin that shouldn't exist became one of the most desirable modern cents of all time. It sent shockwaves through the collecting community and led thousands of enthusiasts to dig through their jars, search pocket change, and revisit every 1982 penny they ever collected. It also proved that the transition from copper to zinc was not as clean and controlled as many believed. Mistakes happened. Experiments happened. Transitional errors slipped through, and where there is mystery, value follows. Now, most regular 1982 cents, especially the common zinc large-date examples, aren't worth much more than face value in circulated condition. But higher-grade pieces, brilliant uncirculated coins, and full red specimens can bring solid premiums. However, the less common varieties, especially those involving the small-date style, can significantly boost the value of your coin. This is why collectors are still obsessed with sorting, weighing, and identifying 1982 pennies. They know that hidden among the common cents, there may be a piece that stands out from the rest. Let's take a moment to talk about the design itself. The Lincoln cent is one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history, originally introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse portrait created by Victor David Brenner became iconic, strong, simple, and instantly recognizable. By 1982, the Lincoln Memorial reverse design had already been in use for more than 2 decades. This reverse would continue until 2008, making the Memorial cents a long and familiar series for collectors and the general public alike. Yet even with this familiar design, 1982 stands out as one of the few years where what was happening behind the scenes mattered more than what appeared on the surface of the coin. The metal changed. The production techniques changed. The economics changed. And all of it influenced the collectability of the pieces we hold today. Now let's explore why collectors love the hunt. Searching 1982 pennies is fun because you can identify each variation without specialty tools. Just follow 3 steps. Step 1. Check the mint mark. Is it D for Denver? If so, you're already in the right place for the rarer varieties. Step 2. Compare the date style. Small dates have more delicate numerals. The 2 looks slightly different, and the top of the 8 is more evenly balanced. Large dates appear bolder. This hands-on approach gives collectors a real sense of involvement. Every coin becomes a miniature mystery, and every variation found feels like a small treasure uncovered. And if you've ever attended a coin show or visited a coin shop, you'll notice something interesting. Even decades after they were minted, 1982 cents remain among the most talked about coins at beginner and expert tables alike. They connect generations. Older collectors remember the transition in real time, while younger collectors enjoy discovering the differences through research and hands-on exploration. The year 1982 also teaches an important lesson. Sometimes the most valuable coins aren't the ones made of gold or silver. Sometimes, the treasure is hiding in the most ordinary place, mixed in pocket change, found in an old jar, or forgotten in a box tucked away in the attic. But beyond rarity and metal composition, collectors also appreciate the history, a story of American economics, industrial changes, and shifts in minting technology. The 1982 Lincoln cent represents a moment of adaptation. A moment when the mint had to balance tradition with practicality. A moment when something as small as a penny reflected the larger economic pressures of a nation, and because these coins were produced in enormous numbers, hundreds of millions from the Denver Mint alone, they became part of American daily life. Kids used them at candy stores. Parents received them in change at gas stations. Cashiers counted them in rolls. They were everywhere. And now? They are part of the hidden treasure hunt of modern U.S. coinage. We're diving deep, really deep, into one such coin, the 1996 Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. This isn't just another discussion about old pennies. This is an exploration into the story, the details, the characteristics, the history, the condition, the market demand, and the surprising value of a coin you might have sitting quietly somewhere in your home right now. The backstory of the 1996 penny. To appreciate the value of the 1996 penny, you first need to step back and understand the era in which it was created. The year 1996 was a time when the Lincoln Memorial reverse still proudly stood on the copper-plated zinc penny, an iconic design used from 1959 through 2008. The D mint mark, located right below the date, tells us this coin was minted at the Denver Mint, a facility known for producing billions of circulating coins each year. For collectors, the mint mark isn't simply a letter, it's a clue to the birthplace of the coin and sometimes a key to determining its rarity or desirability. Even though hundreds of millions of 1996 D pennies were produced, most were used immediately in circulation. They were exchanged daily in supermarkets, gas stations, schools, banks, and public transportation systems. Almost all of them were pocket change, until some of them, especially those struck with unusual clarity or preserved in pristine condition, began catching the attention of coin experts and collectors. Why an ordinary penny can become extraordinary, you might be wondering. How can a simple 1-cent coin ever hold more value than its basic monetary worth? The answer lies in a combination of condition, preservation, rarity, and error potential. While a circulated 1996 D penny is common and often worth face value, the standout coins, the ones that escape scratches, discoloration, denting, and daily wear, are the ones that take on collector value. Collectors don't just look for old coins. They look for quality, perfection, and characteristics that make a coin stand out from the millions just like it. A flawless surface, bright luster, razor-sharp details, and the absence of blemishes transform an everyday penny into a grading candidate. Once a coin receives a high professional grade, especially mint state grades, its market value can rise dramatically. Mint state grades and why they matter. The grading scale for coins ranges from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. Most coins that circulate daily fall somewhere between 1 and 65. But the rare ones that never entered circulation and remain in mint state condition, MS, often fetch higher prices. The closer a coin is to MS 70, the more a collector is willing to pay. For the 1996 D penny, grades of MS 66, MS 67, and even MS 68 can dramatically increase its worth. These higher graded coins show virtually no signs of handling or wear. They display beautifully struck details, sharp lettering, a strong portrait of Lincoln, crisp edges, and a clean reverse featuring the Lincoln Memorial. The importance of I appeal. Collectors love coins that simply look beautiful. Even if two coins share the same grade, one may appear more visually striking than the other. A bright, brilliant luster, attractive toning, and a clean, shiny surface all enhance eye appeal. When eye appeal meets high mint state grading, buyer interest rises, and so does value. Some 1996 D pennies exhibit natural toning in subtle blues, violets, or golds. While this toning can occur naturally over time, collectors often cherish it because it gives the coin a one-of-a-kind appearance. Mint errors and their impact on value. One of the most exciting parts of coin collecting is the discovery of mint errors. These are mistakes that occur during the manufacturing process, errors that are accidental, rare, and highly collectible. On the 1996 D penny, possible errors include off-center strikes, double strikes, die cracks, rim cuds, misaligned dies, and clipped planchets. Each of these errors can increase the coin's value depending on its severity and visibility. For example, an off-center strike where the design is noticeably shifted is often desirable. A double die error, where lettering or features appear doubled, is especially prized. A dramatic rim cud, where a portion of the die breaks and leaves a raised blob on the coin's rim, can turn a 1-cent piece into a sought-after treasure. Historical context and why collectors care. Coins are more than currency. They're miniature time capsules. The 1996 D penny captures a moment of American life under President Bill Clinton's administration, an era of rapid technological advancements and cultural shifts. Even though it seems recent, the mid-1990s now hold nostalgic value. Collectors often connect emotionally to coins from certain periods, especially if those years hold personal memories for them. Additionally, the Lincoln cent is the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. When a coin series runs for so many decades, collectors naturally become interested in filling every year and every mint mark. That desire fuels demand, even for modern coins like the 1996 D penny. why coin condition can drastically change value. Let's take a closer look at how condition impacts worth. A heavily circulated 1996 D penny might be worth 1 cent. Maybe 2 cents if it's lightly circulated. But a brilliant, flawless example with a high grade can be worth far more. Collectors pay premiums for coins that look like they were just minted yesterday. Here's why. Out of hundreds of millions of coins produced, only a tiny percentage survive in near-perfect condition. Even fewer are discovered, graded, and sold. That small supply, combined with collector demand, creates higher value. What makes the 1996 D penny interesting for modern collectors? The beauty of modern numismatics is that collectors are increasingly appreciating coins from the 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s. Bulk hoards from these decades often reveal unexpected high-grade gems. As more people send these coins for grading, populations become clearer. When population reports show relatively small numbers of ultra-high-grade examples, demand increases. The 1996 D penny sits perfectly in this era. While plentiful in lower grades, it becomes special when found in exceptional condition. How you can check if your 1996 D penny is valuable. If you have a 1996 D penny, here are key things to look for. Check the overall shine. A bright, flashy surface often indicates minimal handling. Inspect for scratches, scuffs, or dull patches. Even tiny blemishes can prevent higher grades. Look at Lincoln's cheek and jaw. These areas often show wear. First, examine the lettering and date. Sharp, clean details are signs of a strong strike. Check the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial should show full lines and sharp architectural detail. Search for errors. Any visual oddity may be valuable. Avoid cleaning the coin. Cleaning destroys value and leaves unnatural surfaces. If your coin appears flawless to the naked eye, it might be worth submitting to a grading service such as PCGS or NGC. Why people love collecting pennies. Pennies represent something personal. They're accessible, nostalgic, and full of history. Many collectors started as children picking pennies from change. Some began with filling folders, others with picking coins out of coin jars. The Lincoln cent, in particular, holds a special place in the hearts of millions. Its familiarity makes it the perfect coin for both beginners and experts. The 1996 D penny fits seamlessly into this passion. It's modern enough to be relatable, yet old enough to spark curiosity. It's common enough for beginners, yet holds rare varieties that thrill seasoned collectors. The true market value of the 1996 D penny. Now, the big question: what is a 1996 D penny actually worth? Like many modern coins, most examples don't command high premiums. But the exceptional ones, the truly outstanding, high-grade examples or those with noteworthy errors, can and do reach impressive prices. Today, we dive deep into a coin most Americans have handled countless times without ever giving it a second thought: the 2004 United States of America Lincoln 1-cent coin with the Denver Mint mark. But don't be fooled, this tiny coin holds a huge story. A story of history, craftsmanship, hidden rarity, and surprising collector value. So settle in, buckle up, and get ready for one of the most captivating coin collecting journeys you've ever heard. Because by the time we're done, you'll never look at a humble penny the same way again, the coin that looks ordinary. Until you look closer. Picture a coin minted in a year many of us still remember vividly, 2004. A year of cultural shifts, technological excitement, and major national conversations. But beneath all that, the U.S. Mint was pushing billions of pennies into circulation. Most people treated them as nothing more than pocket fillers, but within this sea of copper-plated zinc, the Denver Mint produced pieces that, in the right condition, became treasures. The D Mint mark, placed just below the date, is your first clue. It tells us this coin was born at the Denver Mint, one of the major workhorses of American coin production. Denver is known for power, precision, and consistency, yet even in such high-output environments, certain coins rise above the rest. A small coin with a legacy as big as Lincoln. Let's flip the coin, metaphorically and literally. On the obverse side, we find the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted originally by Victor David Brenner. This design has been on the penny since 1909, marking the first time a real historical person ever appeared on a U.S. circulating coin. After nearly a century of production, in 2004, Lincoln still stood strong, symbolizing unity, perseverance, and the long arc of American history. Turn it over and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial design, first introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. For 50 years, this iconic reverse design was the emblem of the American cent. And coins like the 2004 D represent the final years before the U.S. Mint retired the memorial reverse in 2008, making them part of the last chapters in a famous era. The material that makes the difference. What many people don't realize is that by 2004, pennies were no longer made of mostly copper. The Mint had switched to copper-plated zinc back in 1982. That means your 2004 D penny is really a core of zinc wrapped in a thin shell of copper, only 2.5% copper, to be exact. Why does this matter? Because this change introduced new challenges. Zinc is softer and more reactive than copper, it corrodes more easily, it scratches more easily, it can develop bubbles or blisters beneath the copper plating, and that means finding a 2004 D penny in pristine, near-perfect condition, full luster, no spots, no scratches, no discoloration, is shockingly rare. Most of these coins deteriorated quickly in circulation. But the few that survived untouched? Those are the ones collectors crave, hidden gems in plain sight. Here's the secret that makes this coin so fascinating: the value isn't based solely on age. It's based on quality. A 2004 D penny pulled straight out of change today is usually worth its face value. But one preserved in stunning condition, brilliant, glossy, sharply struck, untouched by time, can become a serious collector's prize. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate pennies using the Sheldon scale, which ranks condition from 1 to 70. A perfect 70 is nearly impossible, and anything above 65 is considered gem level. Only a small fraction of 2004 D pennies can ever reach those upper grades. The vast majority are simply too scratched, too worn, or too tarnished. And that rarity is what transforms a tiny copper-colored disc into a treasure. Why collectors love the 2004 D penny. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying stories. And the 2004 D penny is packed with them. It represents the final years of the memorial reverse design. It comes from a mint known for enormous coin output, yet pristine survivors are scarce. It captures a moment in early 2000s American history. It's part of the famous Lincoln cent series, one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. But beyond all that, this coin is accessible. Anyone can search their pocket change, their coin jar, or their childhood collection and potentially discover one. There's something magical about that. The idea that an everyday person could uncover a small piece of American history with real monetary value is what makes coin collecting exciting. The art and science behind condition. Let's break down what makes an individual 2004 D penny stand out. Full original red luster. Copper fades quickly, so maintaining the bright red tone from the mint is rare. Sharp strike. Every detail in Lincoln's hair, face, and coat should appear crisp. Clean fields. The smooth flat areas on the coin should have minimal marks, untouched surfaces, no fingerprints, spots, scratches, or corrosion, no plating bubbles. Zinc-based cents commonly show tiny bumps or blisters. A flawless surface is special. Coins that check all these boxes enter an elite group, one that collectors watch closely. How rarity and condition influence value. Two coins with the same date and mint mark can have wildly different values. One may be worth a single cent, while another could be worth dozens of dollars. What makes the difference? Survival in high-grade market demand. Visual appeal. Quality of strike. Color classification: red, red-brown, brown. Most 2004 D pennies are brown or red-brown by now. But the scarce survivors with blazing red mint luster? Those are the showstoppers. Searching for a treasure in your change. Imagine opening an old drawer, pulling out a jar of coins you haven't touched in years, and spotting a 2004 D penny that looks unusually bright. Or imagine finding one in your pocket that somehow escaped the wear and tear of circulation. That spark of excitement, the possibility that your coin could be worth more than expected, is what keeps collectors hooked. And today, you know what to look for. You're armed with the power of knowledge. You're ready to search, identify, and potentially discover a miniature fortune hiding in plain sight. why the 2004 D penny matters even if you never sell it, even if you never cash in a coin. Collecting builds a deeper connection to history, to the hands that held it, the machines that produced it, the artists who designed it, and the nation it represents. A penny is more than money, it's a tiny historical document. The 2004 D cent marks a period of transition. It's a time capsule from the early 2000s. And every time you hold one, you hold a piece of that era, the collector's price highlight, and now, the moment you've been waiting for, the standout value figure for a high-grade example of this coin. In exceptional condition, the 2004 D Lincoln 1-cent coin can be valued at $24.265. A closing that invites curiosity. Coins aren't just objects, they're stories cast in metal. They're reminders of where we've been and clues to our culture, our art, and our history. And the 2004 D Lincoln penny is one of those secret gems that hides behind an ordinary face. So next time you hear the quiet clink of a penny hitting the bottom of your pocket, remember, one of those little coins might hold a surprise just waiting to be discovered.